Labor MP Luke Gosling says he will raise the issue of funding for the Environmental Defender's Office with Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek. Live to Matt Cunningham in Darwin. Matt, there have been calls for the organisation to have its funding scrapped. That's what the coalition is planning to do. What's the Labor MP's position on that?
Well, I'm not sure he was completely committed either way, Kieran, but as we were reporting yesterday, the Northern Territory Labor government is also reviewing its funding of the Environmental Defender's Office. Now, this follows a ruling by the Federal Court earlier this month. The Federal Court rejected an application in a case run by the Environmental Defender's Office on behalf of traditional owners from the Tiwi Islands to stop Santos laying a gas pipeline off the coast of Bathurst Island. It was argued that it would damage the spiritual and cultural heritage of the Tiwi people. But in her ruling, and as she rejected that claim, Justice Natalie Charlesworth actually found that lawyers from the Environmental Defender's Office distorted and manipulated the views of Indigenous people from the Tiwi Islands to make their case. She also found that there was an expert witness, Mick O'Leary from the University of Western Australia, who actually lied to the Tiwi Islanders as they were trying to do a cultural mapping exercise. So there has been quite a bit of fallout from this. So I asked Luke Gosling, first of all, about his thoughts around the Northern Territory reviewing the funding for the Environmental Defender's Office. Here's what he had to say.
I think there's a role for the EDO, but I think it's right to investigate it. I support the NT government looking at their contribution towards the EDO and seeing if the work that they're doing is appropriate.
That raised the obvious question, Kieran, about whether the Labor MP believed that the EDO's federal funding should be reviewed. Now, as you were saying, we saw Peter Dutton, the opposition leader, yesterday say that a coalition government, if elected next year, would scrap the EDO's funding altogether. It gets about $2 million a year in federal funding. I asked Luke Gosling if this was an issue he was going to raise with the Federal Environment Minister, Tanya Plibersek. This is how that exchange went down.
So you'll raise it with Tanya Plibersek?
Well, I won't take any orders from Peter Dutton, I'll tell you that.
Well, let's put Peter Dutton aside, though. I mean, this is a look at the issue.
Yeah,
is it something you think needs to be raised with the Environment Minister?
There's a number of issues that I'll be raising with the Environment Minister when we get back, including the timeline for some decisions on Lee Point.
No, but what about the EDO funding? Is that something you'll raise?
Yeah, that'll be one of the issues that I'll raise with the Environment Minister. Any other questions?
We got there eventually, Kieran, so Luke Gosling is going to raise that issue with Tanya Plibersek. As for the other questions, well, there's plenty of them for the Environmental Defender's Office. It's yet to respond really to the criticism of the organisation made by the Federal Court judge in her ruling in that case, but it has released a statement in response to calls for its funding to be scrapped. David Morris, the CEO, says our clients are grandparents concerned for younger generations, environmental charities acting for nature, community groups defending their local patch, and First Nations people. Without our services, these people would be denied access to the legal system and to environmental justice. But it seems that the EDO certainly has a fight on its hands at the moment to hold on to that funding following a pretty damning finding from the Federal Court.